Communications Director, Skybridge Capital founder Anthony Scaramucci, along with Republican strategist, former Trump surrogate, and former convention deputy press secretary Erin Elmore. Great to see you both joining Dagan and my apprehensions just since October. This is obviously not sustainable. You can't apprehend 500,000 people every 6 months.
This is the highest in 12 years that we've seen. We go back to 1997. The landmark case was called the Flores case that said you can only detain these people for 20 days. And when it's minors, that's why they just get to go free. And that's why Lindsey Graham thinks it's time to change this law. That's up this time to 100 days, and we'll get a little more apprehension here.
You had some great compelling is after he left the money with the lawyer in Cyprus, he gets on a plane, goes back to Washington. As soon as the plane lands at Dulles Airport, 5 FBI agents arrest him.
I watched this interview, and it was really fascinating. You said he was with the company before he joined the Trump campaign, and he said, hey, I'm leaving. And they said, well, we want you to meet some people. When do you leave a company and then they want you to meet people? Fishy.
Right. Well, it's definitely fishy, and that's why we'll see what the new U.S. attorney does.
I can't wait to talk about this later in the show.
Yeah, we will talk more about that. Coming up, one facial recognition will tell you where you are, who you're with at all times. It will spot you out in the community, wherever. And number two, there is some implicit bias. That's one of the issues here, because the computer is only as good as the data that's in it.
Right. Well, don't we weigh? It's a cost-benefit analysis, right? The benefit versus the risk. And here it's hard to see that there isn't a benefit to this technology.
So you think
I think so, but
like it.
But we're talking about California, a liberal state that has a right to destroy themselves, and it systematically appears that they're doing so.
29 after the 2008 collapse. It's worse now than it was then. And I think that democratic socialists think that this is a reflection of our government being an oligarchy rather than a government that really came out of, the New Deal. I mean, that was essentially a form of democratic socialism. And it's what so many countries around the world have a deeper understanding of, in that they protect their most vulnerable citizens rather than those who can line the pocketbooks of our lawmakers.
Erin?
Good morning, Erin Elmore here. So despite the prominence of socialist ideals in the mainstream liberal media, recent polls by Monmouth, for example, show that socialist ideals are not popular. Only 10% of people prefer them. And if you do support socialism, it's all about the community. This shows that the community isn't really behind you. Where does that leave you on your theories here?
Well, I think one of the problems is, as I said at the beginning, was most people don't understand, especially an older generation.
Capital founder Anthony Scaramucci in the house. Republican strategist Erin Elmore here. Great to see you. Situation globally, because what the administration will say about lowering the corporate tax rate, for example, as an example, from 35% to 21%, is the rest of the world is around 20%. So you can't have an anti-competitive corporate tax rate where you're at 35% and the rest of the world's at 20%, because what will happen is what we saw happen in the last 10 years, and companies acquiring other companies and moving to Ireland, moving elsewhere.
And these Americans that believe in the socialism, they try to point to Europe, but European socialist countries have very low corporate tax rates. So it's hard to say that this is a competitive advantage for us to increase our corporate tax rates.
No, that's absolutely right. And there's
in Europe that has come up with the kind of innovations that you've seen come out of America. Can you? I mean, knowing that you've got a socialism sort of backdrop in Europe versus capitalism in America, can you think of something like an Apple computer in Europe, or, biotechs that have come up with, cancer curing medicines?
They had a 2,000-year lead over the New World, Maria. So just think about that. They ruined their system through.
Well, they only have IKEA, and you can't put that stuff together anyway.
German and Italian cars are still better than American cars, though.
Okay.
Asylum under these treaties. It is only the failure of the government to maintain basic law and order, or the government targeting the asylum seeker or a group to which that seeker belongs, that is the technical, legal, international basis for asylum.
Yeah. Does increasing that detention period from 20 days to, say, 100 make a big difference?
Oh, an enormous difference. Plus bringing, as he said, 500 judges down there. These are administrative law judges who literally can sit in droves 24/7 to reduce the backlog, but make a tremendous difference. But again, I don't think this can be done by legislation
Isn't there a bipartisan appeal towards that, though?
There is, but because this was approved by a court, they're going to have to go back to that court. Look at